Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. We need more pollination going on in our gardens. This is to guarantee that good fruit set, whether it is on your cherries, whether it's on tomatoes, etc., or vegetables, flowers, wherever you really want the plant to produce seed. And it is so important, and we are having a problem with bees and being not the only pollinator that we're going to have to rely on. They seem to be in short supply. So by planting certain pollinator plants throughout your garden, you can have a beautiful garden, but at the same time attract all kinds of pollinators. And of course, when you have all these pollinators, you do have pollen. So if you do have allergies to that type of thing, you may have to consider this as a no-no and rely on your neighbors to do this instead of you. Let's go over and run down a few of the great pollinators that you can work easily into your garden. Start with the coneflowers, the echinaceas. Probably the nicest ones I like, of course, are the sunset sort of looking ones, which one that comes to mind is Evening Glow. 30 inches tall, and it has the sort of orange and yellow tipped petals, and of course the big brown cone in the center. It works really well with all the other normal colored ones, but there is also Garden Emotion Bright Orange, and what it does is it doesn't give you as big a show. The petals aren't as long, but at the same time, it gives you that orange look. And you always want something a little different than the regular pink. Now, having said that, there is Picabella, which is an excellent echinacea. I'm not a big fan of the doubles, but there are out there. But I haven't seen the pollinators really attracted to the doubles like they are to the singles. And that's why. Now, tomato soup is a good one, and there are others out there. So, echinacea work throughout your garden, and they can seed many times and volunteer, and you have to be selective, because if they're going to cross, if they're going to give you new varieties, or sometimes they give you these really big, ugly, leggy plants, you don't really want them in your garden. Milkweed. Now, milkweed is an invasive weed, and it's something that you have to use carefully and selectively. It's not the prettiest of plants, but it has some nice flowers. Now, we're not talking about the ones that grow out in the field. We're talking about the little more ornamental varieties. They, of course, attract monarch butterflies, and, of course, the monarch butterflies also use them as a food source as well as for pollen. So, there is the nice orange one, which is the most common. But there is Soulmate, which is a really nice pink. Now, pink with white on it, so it is a little nicer than the old pink ones you see out in the fields. They all attract the pollinators, and of course, this means that you're going to have a lot more pollinators. And of course, who doesn't like monarch butterflies? So they will attract those into the garden. It is a good one. It's one of the reasons why the common name for it is, of course, butterfly weed. Then we have zinnias, and the zinnias will also attract swallowtails and monarchs and painted ladies and a lot of butterflies. So you want to try and do some of them as well. Get some of the ones that are more resistant to the mildew, and you should be good to go. There is some nice ones. It is annual, but of course, we can't have everything. Bee balm, monarda, bergamot. Let's be honest, it is one of the great plants, but there is an issue, again, with mildew, so make sure it's an open area. It's not crowded by other plants, out in the sun, where you can actually get good air movement. This will help also pick varieties that are resistant to mildew. And, of course, it attracts hummingbirds and all the other great bumblebees, honeybees, butterflies. It is a great one. Plus, of course, you can take some of the young leaves and you make bergamot tea, which is the flavoring of Earl Grey tea. Oregano, everybody can plant. It is perennial. It does seed itself, so you do have to sometimes do a little control, but it does attract honeybees and all the mimic bee flies, which are actually pollinators. So that is actually good. And so you're not relying just on honeybees, but also on the flies that mimic honeybees will be attracted. But again, control the seedlings. Black-eyed Susan, everybody can grow black-eyed Susans. Black-eyed Susans are perennials. We want them, they will seed themselves, they will fill in areas for you if that's what you need, and you're going to do large areas and drifts of them, then do that. Try and put in the ones that are more resistant to mildew, and they will attract a tremendous amount of pollinators to your garden. Of course, also being very pretty. Full sun, well-drained soil, and they will attract a very large amount of pollinators to your garden. Cilantro, not a lot of people grow this one. It's an annual, but it does attract honeybees and syrphid flies and parasitic wasps, tachyd flies. These are predator insects, and that makes it important in the fact that it really likes to go and attract all these. Basically, these are predator insects that are going to go after the bad insects in your garden. So it's not a bad one to do. Sunflowers, I always recommend that you plant at least one sunflower in there of the perennial type. There are several. Remember, they do seed themselves. They are very tall. They're very aggressive in their, not invasive, but they are aggressive in their spread. And you'll have to control their spread eventually with a shovel and a spade or an axe, etc. They can get as tall as 7 or 8 feet, but this one in my garden will attract all kinds of pollinators, particularly late in the season when nothing else is around. You can literally think that there is a storm going on over top of the flowers on a sunny day where all the pollinators are attracted and flying around. Nobody's arguing, nobody's fighting. Everybody's just looking for the food in the flowers, of course. And they're in full bloom in August, September, even into October. Cosmos, it's an annual. It's pretty. It seeds. You can do it from seed in your garden. You can buy plants. And it is a good one in the fact that there are different kinds. But you do want this sort of pollinator-friendly plant in your garden. So you can sprinkle it directly in your garden and have things grow up alongside it and go anywhere. It attracts beneficial insects such as lacewings and pirate bugs, which are, of course, the beneficial insects which attack other bad insects. Sweet alyssum does attract syrphid flies, and they love to eat aphids, so that's a good thing. They also attract some of the tiny flies, wasps, and other bees that are attracted to low-growing scented flowers as well. So you've got a good range of both annual and perennials and herbs in there. So I would use any or all of these to attract the insects and all the basic pollinators to your garden. Be selective. Pick out the ones you like as well to look at and enjoy. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.